City Council Manager Workshop. City Clerk Sint, are you on the line? Can you do the roll call for us?
Certainly. Councilmember Juniman?
Here.
Councilmember Knutson?
Here.
Councilmember Neblett?
City Manager Coleman, can you do the roll call for us?
Hi.
Andrea is there. She just must have not unmuted.
I did.
I can hear. Yes, I heard her.
Yeah, I was down to Councilmember Smith. Everybody else had responded.
Yes.
Oh, I could not hear anybody responding.
Oh. Your volume up?
Yeah.
It is. I can hear you now, but I didn't hear you doing the roll call. So,
Oh, you did it.
okay, you did it. Well, good enough. Okay, approval of the agenda.
For what it's worth, I'm here.
Thank you. And Mayor Abrams?
Yes, I'm here too.
Oh, boy.
So far, so bad.
Yeah, we have 3 meetings tonight, folks. Let's love this technology. It's so artificial. Okay, is there a motion to approve the agenda for tonight's manager workshop?
So moved. Second.
Moved by Neblett, seconded by Juniman. The motion to approve the agenda. Is there any discussion? Hearing and seeing none, we'll do roll call. And tonight the order for our meetings will be Neblett, Juniman, Smith, Knutson, and then myself. Councilmember Neblett, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilmember Juniman?
Aye.
Councilmember Smith?
Aye.
Councilmember Knutson?
Aye.
And I vote aye as well. We have no unfinished business. We do have new business, and I'm excited to see that we have so many residents who are interested in serving on our commissions. They are very important advisors for the city council, and so great to see so many people who are interested. I thought what we would do tonight, since we are all separate, is that we will use the order Neblett, Juniman, Smith, Knutson, and simply assign you a number. So any of the interviews, Councilmember Neblett, you'll ask question number 1. Councilmember Juniman, you'll ask question number 2. Councilmember Smith, you'll ask question number 3. Councilmember Knutson, you'll ask question number 4, and I'll ask the last question. That way we can kind of keep things moving so that we all ask, that numbered question for each candidate based on whatever commission they are seeking appointment to. So with that, City Manager Coleman, do you want to cue this up a little bit for us about the process?
Yes, thank you, Mayor, members of the City Council. This evening, we have 11 candidates for 6 openings. Since the staff report was written, we've had one person withdraw from consideration, and that is Emma Brodnix, who's on the council part of this agenda, and then Lou Aurelius, who just sent an email a few minutes ago saying she's not feeling well. So we'll have Lois connect with her later to see if we want to do a makeup date, or if you think you have enough people tonight, then you can appoint 2 from the pool this evening. The other thing I did want to point out that was brought to my attention by Councilmember Juniman was that Bao Vang, in the staff report, it shows that she's interested in serving on the Planning Commission or HEDC. However, her application indicates that she's interested in the CDRB and would also be interested in HEDC. So I think when you get to interviewing her this evening, I would just suggest that you clarify what her priority board is. So there's a little conflicting information in the packet. And Lois was out of town today, so I couldn't check in with her to see if she had a conversation with Ms. Vang or not. So I shouldn't say miss. I don't know if it's a miss or a mister, so I apologize for that. Moving right along, we have, as I mentioned, we have openings on the Environmental Natural Resource Commission, the Heritage Preservation Commission, the Housing and Economic Development Commission, and one opening on Planning Commission. So with that, I also would just point out that included in your packet were the questions and also the scoring sheets. And because of the large volume of the applicants tonight and our very tight agenda, we're suggesting that you spend some time to mull over how you would rank those candidates. You can also go back and listen to the meeting later if you like, and turn those back into Lois on Friday, October 2nd. And then we'll get those ready for you to do the actual appointments at the next meeting on October 12th. So with that, Mayor, unless you have any questions, I'm hoping that Michael Foltz can tell us who's on the line. He will be managing the phones and letting you know when the candidates are ready to go.
Thank you, City Manager Coleman. Mr. Folds, just 1 second. Council members, the first candidate is Cheryl Sokolsky, and she is applying to serve on the Planning Commission. Okay, Mr. Folds?
Mayor and Council, thank you. We do have Ms. Sokolsky on the line. For Cheryl, for yourself, and then for any other interviewees that are listening, I can allow you to talk, and then you will need to press *6 on your phone in order to unmute yourself. I don't have the ability to actually unmute you. So Cheryl, I'm going to allow you to talk now.
Great. Cheryl, welcome to our Zoom council meeting. I know that this is a bit official in terms of an interview. We have 5 questions. Those questions were provided to you before the meeting tonight. And our first question is going to be asked by Councilmember Neblett.
Thank you, Mayor. Welcome, Cheryl. Like the Mayor said, I have the first question. What do you feel you can bring to the Planning Commission, including your interest, talents, life experience, trainings, etc.?
Thank you. And well, I just want to first say thank you very much for having me. So in response to your question, there's a couple of things that I would want to highlight. First, my roles at Target, I've had several, but all of them have really centered around a demonstrated ability to solve problems, listening through others, considering alternatives, and arriving at solutions to move forward that have really kind of allowed me to improve my ability to see the big picture, but also understand that there needs to be ways to actually get things done. Otherwise, the plan is just a big plan. And so my roles at Target have helped with that. And then some other things that I really feel I can bring to the Planning Commission. One is my ability to be able to connect and share stories and experiences with different people. And through some of my volunteer work with Second Harvest and meal delivery to homebound seniors and starting a community garden in Minneapolis when I was a renter there are some of the ways that I've been able to do that and bring different people together to make connections. You know, I've had the opportunity to live in many different places and had a chance to see how different communities operate and what defines them over the past several years. I grew up in Florida. Sorry, my golden retriever has now decided this is the moment she wants to also have a conversation with me. But I've been able to experience a lot of different places. And then I would close in saying that my willingness to try and learn new things, that where I may be a novice, but am open to exploring, would be an asset to the Planning Commission. So a good example is recently, through the pandemic, I don't have supply chain experience, but that's currently my role at Target, and I helped lead food distribution centers through the pandemic to make sure they continue to operate. I've gotten really interested in preserving foods, and so have learned the in and outs of jam making, and then home repair. While admittedly some of the tutorials haven't been as effective as I would have liked, I still kind of seek out new ways of doing things and new perspectives.
Thank you. And thank your golden retriever as well.
Yeah, she's been quiet all day except for this exact moment.
Councilmember Juniman?
Thank you, Mayor. I have, of course, your second question. What is the extent of your knowledge of basic land use planning principles? For example, the purpose and intent of a comprehensive land use plan or the purpose and intent of zoning?
Thank you. So while my knowledge in terms of practical applications is admittedly limited, I don't know if I would count the internship I had in college many years ago working for a structural engineering firm. But I am aware of and continue to educate myself on what the basic land use principles are. And I understand, more importantly, how they work together and the importance of creating a cohesive roadmap, both for the strategy that comes with the plan, but also the execution and implementation. I know that from a kind of purpose and intent standpoint, the land use plan really is focused on establishing those longer term goals and policies and the actions that could be taken to achieve those goals, and really provides that framework to prioritize initiatives and efforts across the city, and where zoning, and this is how they kind of work together, acts to bring those efforts of the plan to life and make sure that the current zoning reflects the goals and objectives of that plan, and balancing both private property owner interests and the interests of public good to make sure that there's no discrimination in how those applications are being applied to the land. And these things together really help the city accomplish a number of things, and including the opportunity even to generate financial savings, because we know good planning and execution can help save on infrastructure and essential services and help conserve resources. So that's been right. I would also say that together they kind of set the expectations and tone for the community and allow folks to be connected around a common set of goals.
For someone who said she didn't really know what this is about, that was a really good explanation. Thank you.
Well, that kind of goes back to what I was alluding to in my personal passions and interests. When I get curious about something, I learn. I am passionate about learning and passionate about this subject.
Well, that was obvious. Thank you.
Councilmember Smith.
Yes, thank you. What is your understanding of the role of the Planning Commission as it relates to the City Council?
Thank you. I view it as the role of the Planning Commission is to really be the champion of the comprehensive plan, to ensure that it includes recommendations to serve residents in the best way possible, both today and in the future, and help supporting the implementation of that plan by applying those standards and making the necessary decisions to inform City Council, which then in turn helps you and the rest of the council be able to focus on the pressing issues of today and being able to support execution and the realization of the plans, and starting to help develop more kind of short-term strategic plans that need to be put in place to address some of those opportunities that I know the council is often working to prioritize. I do recognize too that the City Council does have to answer to voters, so I think it's important for the Planning Commission to also understand what the current concerns and opportunities are coming from the council, so that as decisions are made within the Planning Commission, adequate information on how those decisions were made, perspectives, findings, etc., can help ensure that you have enough support in how those decisions are made to be able to respond to the public. And then lastly, I would say, the role of the Planning Commission for the City Council, as it relates to the City Council, can get that all out, is really to be the promoters of the city plan, and making sure that it's promoting not just public interest, but also an understanding of the plans and helping the community understand how decisions are being made.
Thank you. Councilmember Knudsen?
Sure. How would you react if you felt strongly about what the Planning Commission should be recommending to the council if you were the minority or perhaps the only member opposed to the views of the rest of the planning body?
Thank you for the question. First, I would want to make sure that there wouldn't be any perceived or real conflict of interest or bias that was leading to my point of view. I would view that if there was, that I would actually have recused myself prior, but in the event that there was a disagreement, we'll want to first make sure and reevaluate that before kind of moving forward. But then from there would speak up and raise my differences of opinion, because I think especially in planning, disagreement is to be expected and can have a really healthy role and can serve a very valuable purpose. It really helps ensure that everyone has an opportunity to examine all sides and have a good understanding of facts to make sure that decisions are being made in the spirit of what the commission and city is looking to accomplish. Of course, I think it depends on the situation, but for some of those questions I would ask, right, is it consistent with the general plan? Does it meet applicable zoning requirements? Are decisions supported by findings and fact, and do we have enough data to support them? Or right, how I would engage in that discussion. But ultimately, once a decision has been made, and even in the case I still may dissent and would appropriately document that, I recognize that kind of the role of the Planning Commission is to act on behalf of the commission's decisions, not my own personal views. So once a decision would be made, I would be a champion for that for the council and the community.
Thank you.
Right. Thank you for the question.
And your last question, in your opinion, what are the greatest opportunities for Maplewood in the next 5 years?
Thank you. For me, the biggest and greatest opportunities for Maplewood is really establishing the identity for the city and what makes it a really great destination for people to live and grow in. I know that there's been conversations for a while on the redevelopment of Maplewood Mall and how do we think about some of the existing uses within the city differently, and I would want to be a big supporter of that and continuing the rezoning for mixed use opportunities. I think what's also great about Maplewood is the natural resources and access to them that from a kind of identity standpoint is it's a really cool thing that not every city and neighborhood has. And so how do we, as a city, really build on that? And so this becomes the destination that people are seeking to move and kind of has that identity that a lot of other neighborhoods and cities have throughout the Twin Cities area. I know for myself, I found Maplewood after 7 years of living in the Twin Cities. I wasn't really familiar with it until I started doing my research to purchase my first home. And I really fell in love with everything that it had to offer. And I think having more people understand that would be a great opportunity. I also think that I'm not sure what the opportunity may be, but I think that I'm sure there's work already happening around this, but just evaluating in light of the pandemic and the changes that we've had to make as a society over the last 6 months, what that might mean for kind of to expand on some of the plans we already had in place as a city and make them even better.
Mayor, if you are speaking, it's muted. There we go.
Sorry about that. And it sounded so good. Okay, I want to say, Cheryl.
I hate when that happens.
I know, it's just, yes, it happens to all of us, I think. Well, tonight it's my turn. Anyway, thank you very much for your interest. You probably heard in the introduction that we have 11 interviews tonight. And so what we will be doing is completing a score sheet and turning that in on Friday. And we will announce those who are going to serve on our commissions sometime next week. Okay.
Great. Thank you. Well, thank you very much for the opportunity to come and speak to you all this evening.
You bet. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Folds, our next interview is with Thomas Osman, and he is interested also in the Planning Commission.
And he is available online.
Hi, I had some instructions there. I'm sorry if you didn't hear me.
Hi, Mr. Osman. How are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
Great. We have 5 questions for you tonight that are going to be asked by each one of our council members. You should also know that the submission that you made to the city was also included in our packet along with any resumes. Some people submitted resumes, some did not. But anyway, the council has reviewed all of that information already. So our first question is going to be from Council Member Neblett.
Thank you, Mayor. Welcome, Thomas.
Thank you.
First question. What do you feel you can bring? What do you feel you can bring to the Planning Commission from interests, talents, life experience, trainings, etc.?
Thank you. And thank you, Mayor, and thank you to the council for allowing me the opportunity to speak to you tonight. It is a pleasure. I'm also a Target employee, so I'll use that word Target quite a bit tonight in my answers. So I'll apologize in advance for too much Target, but I'm a lifelong Maple resident, and the last 25 years of my professional experience, I've been working in Target in property development, construction, and real estate. Some of my highlights in my career have included managing the build and completion of the first Targets in Alaska and Hawaii, repurposing existing and smaller formats in the cities of Los Angeles, Philadelphia, and Chicago. That's taking some of those urban, old, small cities and making them Targets, probably buildings many years ago we never thought would be what we call big box retailers. In the last 5 years of my career has focused on remodels and building expansion for outer ring suburbs, refreshing older stores, interior and exterior, updating multi-unit shopping complexes, parking areas, and building distribution centers. I had extensive background in working with legal systems, city councils, planning commissions, and property developers to create mutually beneficial projects to move forward. In addition to my professional career, I'm a graduate of North St. Paul High School. I have a BA in journalism and business from U of St. Thomas and a master's at DePaul University. I'm a freelance writer, former radio broadcaster, and on the board of the Paddock Museum of Broadcasting. I've actually been on their board for a few years and worked on extensive remodel of our museum. It actually was in an industrial complex, still is, and had to work a lot with the city of St. Louis Park to get a variance to allow our museum to expand. So lots of experience in working in both private and the for-profit sectors with planning commissions and city councils. I also run a nonprofit on Twin Cities media and history called tcmedianow.com, which is a deposit of 50 years of film and video dedicated to the preservation and history of our area. I decided that Maplewood is my forever home, and I'm looking forward to being an active part of the community in which I love. I've had a lot of, I have a lot of thoughts and opinions and emotions about our city, and I thought this year it's time to actually put all my experience and my passion to use, and that is why I am requesting your consideration for the Planning Council.
Thank you very much.
Councilmember Juniman. Councilmember Juniman, you are on mute. Tell you what, I will ask question 2, and Councilmember Juniman, you can have my question.
I finally got the button to let me in.
Oh, okay.
Sorry. Thomas, what is the extent of your knowledge of basic land use planning principles? For example, the purpose and intent of a comprehensive land use plan, or the purpose and intent of zoning?
So my knowledge, it of course varies sometimes from city to city. As I understand it, generally recreational, residential, or agricultural, institutional, transportation, commercial, and changes and variances to these zones are approved by the city council. I do know from experience with my family, we worked the process of having some adjacent recreation land that was next door to us back in the 80s to vacated for our addition. and the same house that I'm living in and remodeling today. So I have some personal experience working with Maplewood with the Planning Commission and the City Council, and then of course working with other cities in how those areas are zoned.
Thank you.
Councilmember Smith.
Thank you, Mayor. What's your understanding of the role of the Planning Commission as it relates to the City Council?
On the basic level, I understand the Planning Commission considers projects and requests on behalf of the public and business and makes recommendations based on the interest of the City Council. As I would understand it, it would be good planning to not only be efficient with taxpayer money, but also long-term and short-term goals for the city in order to make the city best for all of us.
Councilmember Knudsen.
Tom, how would you react if you felt strongly about what the Planning Commission should be recommending to the council if you were in the minority or perhaps the only member opposed to the views of the rest of the body?
Working in collaborative teams and boards, as I have, both in private and the nonprofit sector, it's not uncommon. And I have worked with this many times in my professional life. I understand that my position is not always going to be the one that moves forward. I do my best to give my point of view based on my facts and data and a perspective to work through the process constructively. As a journalist, I've always been interested in people's stories. So understanding where people's perspective comes from and have a good discussion on why someone's position might be different than my own. At the end of the day, it sometimes comes down to who concurs more with one opinion or not. I understand that not all of our opinions and not all of our perspectives are going to move forward all the time. But also sometimes what didn't go forward today may go forward years from now. And this, in my professional experience, it could be a small project to a long range one. And I'm there to support a plan, even if I'm in the minority opinion or the opinion that does not go forward. And in regards to the Maplewood Planning Commission or the City Council, I'm there to still support Maplewood in its goals and make Maplewood the best place to live.
Thank you.
And the final question, in your opinion, what are the greatest opportunities for Maplewood in the next 5 years?
I've thought a lot about this, and Maplewood's my home my entire life, and I've moved to 2 different places, briefly, and always come back. I've seen hundreds of cities across the USA and even the world, but Maplewood's home. Nothing has lured me away yet. I have seen several suburbs fall into economic despair across the city through short-sighted planning, and I hope that's never a case that comes with Maplewood, and I'm here to stay. We have major shopping complexes, a large corporate presence, a beautiful community center, and nature preserves already. And we are a place that people should be settling their roots. I'm hoping that more people will. We should be attracting a diverse range of new residences and businesses to our city. What I'm disappointed is when so many people use Maplewood as either a skipping ground because the reputations of Stillwater and Woodbury might be higher for schools or for other reputations, and that disappointed so much. I see some of our shuttered businesses and storefronts, and an empty Sears store that when I was young, walking Maplewood Mall was the biggest tenant we had. There's concern of other big tenants in Maplewood Mall that, with the pandemic and everything that's gone on, what that future is. But Maplewood residents should not be seeking the next move to escape from our schools, or this should be a dining destination, a shopping destination, and a destination that people do call the forever home. And I think that creating reputation, creating some great plans, I'm very happy to see that there's a big development, literally a skip stone thrown away, from a rainbow complex. It makes me very happy to see that being developed. And that's the kind of thing that I'm hoping that we'll be able to do more, attract not only residents, but also corporations to be here, small business, big business, and really gain a reputation of being the best place to live.
Thank you very much, and thank you for your interest in serving on the Planning Commission. All of the council members have score sheets, and we will be turning them in on Friday. And we will announce who is going to be serving on our commissions sometime next week. Okay, so thank you very much for your answers
tonight.
You all. Our next interview is with Jason DeMoe. he is interested in the Planning Commission and also the Heritage Preservation Commission. So council members, why don't we start with the Planning Commission questions first? We'll run through those and then we will do the Heritage Preservation Commission questions. Mr. Demo, are you on the line?
Yes, can you hear me well?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Great, thank you for having me.
We have your application for serving. You're interested in either the Planning Commission or the Heritage Preservation Commission. Is that correct?
It is correct.
Okay, so we will go through the Planning Commission questions first, and then we will move on to the Heritage Preservation Commission questions. Okay?
Sounds good. Yes.
Okay. So, Councilmember Neblett, you have question number 1 for the Planning Commission.
Yes, Mayor, thank you. Jason, welcome. First
Thank you.
question. You're welcome. What do you feel you bring to the Planning Commission? Based your talents, your life experience, trainings, etc.
Well, I worked for 6 years as a small town journalist in both Osceola, Wisconsin and Forest Lake, Minnesota. And as such, spent many hours in both city council meetings and planning commission meetings. I'm not claiming to be any expert, but I'm certainly interested to learn from those who do have extensive knowledge and of the inner workings of the planning commission process. And I also believe that a fresh set of eyes attached to the face of someone who comes into a situation with no bias and a clean slate can be a particularly positive boon to the overall process. I'm fairly new to Maplewood. I've been here less than 2 years, so I just kind of want to get involved in what's happening in the community, and I figured this was a great way to start that process.
Cool. Thank you.
Councilmember Juniman, question number 2.
Thank you, Mayor. What is the extent of your knowledge of basic land use principles? For example, the purpose and intent of a comprehensive land use plan or the purpose and intent of zoning land?
In general terms, I think the purpose is to guide the future actions of the community, present a vision for the future, offer up long-range goals and objectives, including decisions on public and private land, development proposals, expenditure of public funds, availability of tax policy, cooperative efforts and issues of pressing concerns such as farmland preservation or the rehabilitation of older neighborhood areas.
Thank you. That was a good summary.
Thank you.
Councilmember Smith.
Thank you, Mayor. What's your understanding of the role of the Planning Commission as it relates to the City Council?
To provide the council recommendations based on a large amount of research and discussion in regard to zoning and land use matters like rezoning requests, zoning variances, property subdivisions, right-of-way vacations, and home occupation requests.
Okay, question number 4, Councilmember Knudsen.
Thank you, Mayor. Jason, how would you react if you felt strongly about what the Planning Commission should be recommending to the council? If you were in the minority or perhaps the only member opposed to the views of the rest of the body?
First, offer up a strongly worded speech in favor of my point of view in an effort to explain why I felt so strongly about said situation. Ultimately, if I was outmatched, although my opinion may not change, I would concede the point to the greater majority and favor what is best for the commission, city, and community as a whole.
Thank you.
And your final question, in your opinion, what are the greatest opportunities for Maplewood in the next 5 years?
Admittedly, I may not be as well versed as some, but I do have some thoughts on this. Further investment in city park property. I think we have a lot of great green space that we can do a lot of things with. Expansion of opportunities for new development and continued collaboration with adjacent communities in an effort to support Maplewood opportunities.
Okay, thank you very much for your time tonight.
Thank you.
and your interest in serving on the Planning Commission. We next are going to ask questions about the Heritage Preservation Commission. Councilmember, we're kind of shifting gears here, okay? So Councilmember Neblett, Heritage Preservation, question number 1.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. What is your understanding of the role of the Heritage Preservation Commission?
Simply put, I think it's probably written in the name, help the city with historic preservation goals. The amount of research that I have been able to conduct tells me that this commission engages in discussions, implements projects, and works with appropriate stakeholders to preserve, protect, conserve, and use these significant historical, cultural, architectural, or archaeological objects, structures, buildings, and sites within the city. Sorry if that was too textbook.
That's okay.
Councilmember Juniman.
Thank you.
Question number 2.
Thank you, Mayor. What is the extent of your knowledge of Maplewood history and of our local or regional history?
I'm somewhat new to the area, so my knowledge of local history is a bit limited, but again, I when I'm passionate about something, I research it, and I've done so here, and I learned that Maplewood seems to have been established when the Ojibwa defeated the Dakota and subsequently squashed the beef that the Dakota Indians were having with settlers about land rights. Eventually, railroad access led to post office, hotel, a couple of bars, always, and a brothel. I believe the area changed from Gladstone to New Canada and eventually incorporated to become Maplewood. I look forward to learning a lot more.
Thank you.
Councilmember Smith, question number 3.
What do you feel Maplewood has that is of historic significance and worthy of special efforts to preserve?
I would say, obviously, the Bruntrop Heritage Farm could be described as a hallmark of Maplewood history, and I'm aware that significant moves have been made to preserve it and all that it stands for, and I believe those efforts should continue. Other sites worth preserving include the Forest Lawn Cemetery, Gladstone Savannah, Ramsey County Poor Farm, and the current Tubman Center, which I think is on the site of a former monastery. Not expertly educated on the aforementioned, but I'm excited to dig into what, historically speaking, there is to offer.
Thank you. Councilmember
Thank you.
Knudsen, question
Thank you,
number
Mayor.
4.
What do you feel you can bring to the Heritage Preservation Commission? Interests, talents, life experiences, and so forth.
I always believe that a fresh set of eyes can bring a new perspective. My interest in history has been lifelong. And now that I'm living here in Maplewood, I'd very much like to be involved in efforts to work toward learning about and preserving the area history for future generations. My experience includes multiple years of vice presidency on the Osceola, Wisconsin Historical Society.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And the final question is, what qualities do you feel an effective commissioner should possess?
Sincere interest in the topic, desire to listen and learn, openness to any and all ideas, willingness to put in the time and effort necessary to enact positive change, both in the present and for the future.
Okay, thank you very much. As I already
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity.
You bet. As I indicated, we will be filling out our score sheets by Friday, and the commissioners will be announced next week.
Sounds great.
Thank you.
Thank you again.
Next, we have Bao Vang, and Bao Vang is interested in HEDC, just for point of clarification, and the CDRB. Ms. Vang, are you on the line?
Mayor, I have not seen their number dialing yet. The next, I guess, interviewee, the 610, Sarah Burdish, is available and on the phone.
Certainly, we can. Do you have a number where you could call Ms. or I believe it's Ms. Vang. But do you have a number where you could contact?
I do.
Okay, thank you. All right. So, Ms. Burdash, you are on the line. Ms. Burdash?
Apologies, I just allowed her to speak, and so once she presses *6, she will unmute herself and be ready to go. There we go.
Good
right,
evening,
can you
Ms.
hear me?
Burdash.
Hello, how are you?
Good. Can you hear us okay?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Good. From your application, you are interested in the Planning Commission and also HEDSI, which is Housing and Economic Development. Is that right?
Yep, that's correct.
Okay.
Yes, that's
Then
correct.
commissioners, let's start with the Planning Commission first. Councilmember Neblett, you have question number 1.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Welcome, Sarah. First
Thank
question.
you.
What do you feel you can bring to the Planning Commission in terms of interests, talents, life experience, training, etc.?
All right, thank you. Well, first I would just say that my interest is kind of a self-serving one. I live in Maplewood, so I'm very interested in what we're doing here. Professionally, I have worked in finance for the last few years and also project management. So those areas don't seem to exactly correlate to the Planning Commission, but I am very associated with like budgets and also project timelines and that kind of detail-oriented skill set. I also, because I have worked in project management, I am used to working with a lot of different opinions and making sure to take the time to listen to exactly what people need and what they're exactly trying to accomplish. So kind of thinking that the Planning Commission commissioners would need to be good at listening and understanding what exactly the people of Maplewood want. So.
Thank you.
Councilmember Juniman, question 2.
Thank you, Mayor. Excuse me. Sarah, what is the extent of your knowledge of basic land use principles? For example, the purpose and intent of a comprehensive land use plan or the purpose and intent of zoning?
Thank you. Yeah, so the purpose of the comprehensive plan, this lays out the guide for how the city will be looking in a few years. And then the zoning, the purpose and the intent of the zoning is to make sure that the plan is actually enforced. So that's the simplest version of that process that I could come.
Thank you very much.
Councilmember Smith, number 3.
Yes, thank you. What is your understanding of the role of the Planning Commission as it relates to the City Council?
Thanks. So I understand this to be reviewing the applications and ideas that are presented to the commission and then forwarding these ideas on to the City Council. So you are supposed to review and work with each other, come up with recommendations, and then forward them on to the City Council.
Question number 4, Councilmember Knudsen.
Thank you, Mayor. How would you react if you felt strongly about what the Planning Commission should be recommending to the council if you were in the minority or perhaps the only member opposed to the views of the rest of the body?
Yeah. Personally, I have worked in a handful of high stress environments where sometimes people definitely disagree. And as a professional, I welcome everyone's opinion and know that I'm probably not going to take it personally if they don't agree with me. And I also know that, like, I know that it's important to be humble, and I'm not going to be right 100% of the time. So that's why it's important to have a lot of diverse opinions and a diverse group being able to present different opinions. So I know that I would be humble enough to potentially learn from the other people on the group. But yeah, if it is a high stress or maybe a disagreeable moment, I would probably just want to know firmly what everybody else's reasoning is. And then also I'm open enough to say, when I do disagree, but I'm a professional, so I would be able to do that probably without hurting anyone's feelings.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And the last planning commission question is, in your opinion, what are the greatest opportunities for Maplewood in the next 5 years?
Yeah, I really like this question. I live here and I do love like walking around. We have excellent trails and parks, and that's like my happy spot with Maplewood. My other happy, like the thing that I love the most about Maplewood is just we've got some really excellent small businesses. So I would say that I think the biggest opportunities for Maplewood would potentially be seeing how we can support and foster more businesses, like small businesses. We have heard a few other people throughout the night also echoing, like, how do we build our reputation for really great schools and a really great place to live? I have lived here for about 8 years and I love it. But not a lot of other people in the cities really know about this just little gem. So I think if we kind of were able to take some of the great things of Maplewood and make sure that more people knew about them, like our schools and our beautiful parks and our parkways and our walkways, I think if more people knew that and more people come move here, that could be a really great opportunity.
Great, thank you very much. And you have also expressed interest in housing and economic development. So we will go to those 5 questions. Councilmember Neblett.
Thank you, Mayor. Okay, question number 1. What do you feel you can bring to the Housing and Economic Development Commission? Again, including training, skills, experience, etc.
Yeah, thank you. So this is basically a repeat of the first one, but yeah, I do have experience in project management and also finance. So yeah, and I should also maybe point out, like, I'm a lifelong learner, so I'm very curious, and I do like deep dives into whatever topic I want to learn on. So basically, I have an insatiable curiosity, so I can bring that to any team that I'm on.
Thank you.
Question number 2, Councilmember Juniman.
Thank you, Mayor. Excuse me. What is the extent of your knowledge in public funding opportunities, grants, revolving loan programs, or other funding methods for assisting businesses?
Yeah, so this, I would say I have a very limited exposure to public funding. This is not at all really in my wheelhouse, but this is, again, something I would be willing to learn about and participate in.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Councilmember Smith.
How can the city of Maplewood work better to assist existing businesses, attract new businesses, and mark the city as a premier business location?
Yeah. So this question is interesting. I think one of the pieces that I know from a handful of small business owners is sometimes they don't always feel heard. So maybe one of the things that our city can possibly do is create like a good channel of communication between our existing businesses, who they are and like what exactly they are needing. And if we're having a good open communication with our existing businesses, I think that would also give us market insights into what we need to attract new businesses to the city. So.
Thank you. Councilmember Knudsen.
Thank you, Mayor. Are there any specific locations in Maplewood you would like to see the city work proactively to encourage redevelopment? And if so, where?
I don't actually have any pet projects. I do follow along in the chapter notes, the agenda. So I am like a lurker as far as what the city is doing and like where the redevelopment is, but I don't have any specific pet projects. So no.
Thank you.
Okay. What do you see as a particular housing need in Maplewood? For example, more or less affordable housing, more or less multifamily housing?
Yeah, I love this question too, because I want to meet the person that's going to be like, we need less affordable housing, actually. So in all seriousness, though, the affordable housing is not unique to Maplewood at all. The current climate of American finances, the more affordable housing we have for people in the entire state, the better it is. That's one of the biggest issues that I see as I'm watching like younger generations try and buy a house, or even just finding a place to rent that they can afford their rent, where it's not, taking over the majority of their paycheck. So I'm very attuned to the affordable housing situation. And I know that we have a couple of really exciting opportunities for development in Maplewood right now. I've been following along those notes, and I think there are some incredible options being built along with elder care units. I've noticed that we're building or working on building a couple of those, and I think that is super exciting as our demographics are changing. But I think as a council, we should, or as a commission, we should also notice not just the demographic right now in Maplewood, but if we wanted to attract more people, like who all is in Minnesota and are they struggling to afford their housing? And if there were more affordable housing options in Maplewood, that might also attract people. So I do think affordable housing is a big one.
Thank you, and thank you for your interest in serving on the Planning Commission or HEDC. As I've indicated, the council will be completing our score sheets and submitting them by Friday, and the commission members, the new ones, will be announced next week. So thank you very much.
All right.
Mr.
Thank you for your time.
Fold, you bet. Mr. Folds, is Bao Vang available?
Yes, she is, and I will unmute her right now.
Okay. Good evening, Bao. My name is Mary Lee Abrams. I'm the mayor. Just to confirm, you are interested in, according to your application, housing and economic development and the Community Design Review Board. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. And hi, everyone. This is Bao Vang speaking.
Okay. The question, I guess, we don't currently have any vacancies in the Community Design Review, on the Community Design Review Board. City Manager Coleman, do you want to weigh in on that? We do have an opening on the Planning Commission. And we also have environmental and natural resources and heritage preservation. You already said you were interested in HEDC.
Mayor, this is Melinda Coleman talking. That's correct. We do not currently have an opening on the Community Design Review Board. And I would suggest, because we do have several applicants for the Planning Commission, that we would check out the interest in just interviewing for the HEDC position tonight, and we can keep our application on file for when we do have a Design Review Board opening.
Okay, thank you very much. Did you hear that, Ms. Vang?
Yes, I did hear that. Thank you. I also, when I spoke to Lois, I expressed to her that I'm interested in the Housing and Economic Development
Right.
Committee too. Yeah.
We're going to
There is
ask you those questions tonight for
Okay.
housing and economic development. We have one opening on that. Okay? So
Okay.
question number one, Councilmember Neblett.
Thank you, Mayor. Welcome, Val. Question number
you.
one. What do you feel you can bring to the Housing and Economic Development Commission, including your training, skills, experience, etc.?
Yeah. Thank you. That's a wonderful question. I can bring my experience in the human service side. I work with families who are in need of resource, from job to housing to social service. So I definitely have the experience in building that relationship out. And I've done a lot of community outreaching to engagement and coordinating events throughout Ramsey County to the different employers that I work with, as well as volunteering on the side with different nonprofits. So I can definitely bring that experience to this role. And I think with the plans of where Maplewood is moving toward, considering the pandemic and what comes after that, I think my experience will be much needed. I am a station director at a Hmong TV station. I can definitely bring what the Hmong community needs, considering that Maplewood have the second largest Asian population as well. And I'm a very proud Maplewood neighbor. So I would like to see my city thrive and be the shining city of rich heritage that it is. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilmember Juniman.
Thank you, Mayor. Bao, what is the extent of your knowledge in public funding opportunities, grants, revolving loan programs, or other funding methods for assisting businesses?
I would say I don't have that experience, but it's something I can learn in terms of working or any involvement with the city or government-wise role. But just as much of what I know comes from my experience with a previous employer only. So it's only to that degree, but I can definitely learn that, go online and look at what our city currently needs and just go from there. And I hope that's, that is something that someone will be willing to teach me.
Thank you.
Councilmember Smith, question number 3.
Yes, how can the city of Maplewood work to better assist existing businesses, attract new businesses, and market the city as a premier business location?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. The city of Maplewood can put out more of newsletter and really locate more how to connect with the neighbors, the residents in the city. The city of Maplewood is where the line draws. It's like it's a very big and beautiful city with different pockets where the neighborhoods really don't. I guess when you go from one, I think the word is precinct, to the next, it's like almost like it's a whole new entire neighborhood. We can definitely put out more community engagement activity, and as well as to surveys in the newsletter that does send out. I'm one of the neighbors who actually read newsletter that comes out from my city. That's something that we definitely need to put more, looking for the word, I don't think it's creativity, but to that, and to really connect our whole city to see what else is really needed, as well as to what businesses we currently have, and cater new attractive business to what the residents in Maplewood need, because we are a rich city, and we're not quite so far out into the suburb where it's isolated, but it's close to St. Paul. It's within Ramsey County, where everyone does come here. When I used to live in St. Paul, I come to Maplewood for all the recreation activity. So it's getting that survey out in the newsletter and just finding more ways to connect the residents to learn more about what they really need to appeal to the different pockets of diversity and community within Maplewood to attract new businesses as well. So thank you.
Question number 4, Councilmember Knudsen.
Thank you, Mayor. Are there any specific locations in Maplewood you would like to see the city work proactively to encourage redevelopment? And if so, where?
That's a good question that I would like to look deeper into so I can have statistics to back that up. I feel like if I answer this way, then it's more of just from my opinion to what I currently know, and I don't have statistics. So I hope that not taken too heavily into consideration, but I would say really to stretch more into the look more into maybe rental housing licensing program, as well as into more community engagement and really bringing our community together, whether that's in new businesses that attract, let's say, Latinos or more Asians, to bringing all of our community together. I think that's an area that I see we need to work on more toward. So thank you.
Thank you.
And question number 5, what do you see as a particular housing need in Maplewood? For example, more or less affordable housing, more or less multifamily housing?
I would say we need more affordable housing because not just the way our economy is, but it's also with, well, I guess that does play a huge factor into it. We don't, just from what I know, I feel like we don't have enough affordable housing for families. And that itself doesn't drive our economy. If families are too busy trying to survive and they're busy trying to get out of poverty by putting all their paycheck into just paying rent, then they can't go out and shop at our local businesses or even go to just the Maplewood Mall to help those local businesses there. And with their family growing, we don't want families, especially younger families, who we don't want to lose those families, those population. We don't want those families to be moving out to bigger cities or to cities like Hopkins or for Wayzata, just because they could have more affordable, they have more affordable housing over there. And affordable housing, I guess the way I'm looking at it is, what can you get with $1,500 when that particular family, their income, net income together with 2 working adults is only about $2,500 a month. It's kind of, yeah, like those factors. So I would say we need more affordable housing so we can keep our city growing, our city thriving. We retain our neighbors, and we keep our city growing forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The council will be scoring the candidates for our commissions by Friday, and we will be announcing the commissioners next week. Thank you for your interest. Very much appreciated.
Thank you. I want to thank the mayor, yes, and everyone for your time for just interviewing me. So thank you so much. You guys have a wonderful night.
You bet. Thank you. And our final candidate is Chanbury Lee, and he is interested in serving on the Planning Commission. Mr. Folds, is Mr. Lee on the phone?
Mayor and Council, he is, and I've allowed him to speak. Mr. Lee, if you can just hit *6, that will unmute you. Good evening, Mr. Lee. Thank you.
Hello, Mr. Lee. Welcome to the council meeting. We have 5 questions to ask of you based on your interest in the Planning Commission. Councilmember Neblett, your question number 1.
Thank you, Mayor. Welcome, Chamburi. This is the first question. What do you feel you can bring to the Planning Commission, including your interests, your talents, your life experiences, training, etc.?
Mr. Lee, if you are speaking, unfortunately, we're not able to hear you. It looks like you're unmuted on our end. Possibly hit *6 again to mute and unmute yourself, and then one more time to unmute. I am showing you as unmuted, but unfortunately, we're not able to hear you.
All right, is this better?
There you
Hello?
go.
Yeah, we can hear.
Hello.
Sorry about that, Council Member. All right, well, thank you so much for taking the
That's
time to
okay.
listen
Did
to
you
me
get the
tonight. Yes, I did, Council Member Nebula, thank you.
Did you get the question? Okay.
Yes, I did.
You're welcome.
Thank you again. And something that I can bring to the Planning Commission in terms of interest, talent, life and experience and training. Currently, I'm working as a project manager for a nonprofit working in economics development, so I understand the economics development side of it. I also have very strong business acumen. I have my master's in business administration and also the information system management. I have a background in communications, and something that I can bring into the council is my ability to communicate with the community. I think that is most important, and having an economic development background, I think it goes hand in hand with the Planning Commission and understanding the dynamics of the zoning and what it will take to really build the economy in Maplewood.
Thank you.
Question number 2, Councilmember Juniman.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Lee, what is the extent of your knowledge of basic land use planning principles? For example, the purpose and intent of a comprehensive land use plan or the purpose and intent of zoning?
Thank you, Councilmember Juniman. I don't have any direct experience in zoning or basic land use, but I do have some understanding of zonings and planning principles, and that understanding that as part of the Planning Commission, a lot of the decisions that they're making are around land uses. And the purpose of the Planning Commission is to help make decisions on land use in the city and to understand, regulate land use. Looking into that is also understanding the impact of future growth within the city, allowing the local government to help plan particular projects to benefit their community. Something that I also understand with this particular part is that zoning orders and zoning decisions should also reflect the comprehensive plan of the city. So that is my understanding of the zoning. And although I don't have any direct experience in zoning, it is something that I'm very interested in learning, and I think that I will excel in this particular subject.
Thank you so much.
Councilmember Smith, question number 3.
What is your understanding of the role of the Planning Commission as it relates to the City Council?
Thank you so much, Councilmember Smith. My understanding of the role of the Planning Commission is to help make recommendations to the City Council. It is a partnership that they have to work very closely together. The Planning Commission takes in changes or requests from the community, and then they review the requests from the community for any zoning changes or anything like that. So then the commission's job is then to review those, make those recommendations to the City Council, and then they move on to make decisions on it. So I believe that it is a partnership between the two, the commission and the City Council.
Councilmember Knutson.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Lee, how would you react if you felt strongly about what the Planning Commission should be recommending to the council if you were the minority or perhaps the only member opposed to the views of the rest of the body?
Thank you so much for the question, Council Member Knudsen. As a father of 3 and going to be 4 this coming year, I'm usually in the minority in decision making. And so something that I've learned from that is that, I also always have to be considerate of other people. But, aside from that, I'm a board member of a charter school, New Millennium Academy. And as a board member on there, I serve as the treasurer. There's times where we have to make tough decisions, and we have to really think about the whole entire perspective of the students, the staff, and our community. There are times where decisions have to be made, and I have been in the situations where I've been in the minority before. But what's important is that I voice my opinion and my concerns to the board or to the group. But at the end of the day, I also have to remember that the decision goes beyond myself, that the decisions that we're making are impacting our community, the city that we live in. So even though I may disagree with the decision, because we are a collective group and a commission, I will still support the decision that has been made as a group.
Thank you.
And the final question. In your opinion, what are the greatest opportunities for Maplewood in the next 5 years?
Thank you for that question, Mayor. And I think that's a great question. We have a lot of opportunities in the city of Maplewood. I've been a resident here in Maplewood now for 4 years, and I was a proud East Sider before. And I moved to the other side of McKnight now, and I feel so much better. So I see so much opportunities in Maplewood, and in particular, I'm one of those guys who loves talking with my neighbors and really connecting with the people who live around me. It is important that we have the community, the sense of community. And talking with my neighbors and really networking around the area that I live in, I understand that a lot of the people who have lived here in the area that I live in are people who built the houses here. And a lot of those are baby boomers who are moving out of the houses, and they're moving into homes or assisted living facilities. And now young families are moving into Maplewood, and we need to that's going to start changing the dynamics of Maplewood. And some of that opportunity comes around, how do we attract these young families, such as myself, who are moving into Maplewood? How do we make Maplewood Star City? It doesn't have to be Woodbury. It could be Maplewood. We don't need to be the drive-through city. There's a lot of opportunities here where we can bring in a lot of people who will be here for many generations to come to pay taxes here, to live here, to work here, and to really create that economic multiplier within our city. I think that's one opportunity is that. The other one is really trying to attract more BIPOC businesses into the Maplewood Business District. I think I used to work in Maplewood Mall myself, and that mall in that area, there's just not the same that it used to be. And I think there's just a lot of opportunity. And in particular with the zoning and planning, there's a lot of discussions and conversations where we can maybe have with partnership with other committees and with other partners to talk about how we can bring in BIPOC businesses into those particular area. Those are some of the opportunities that I see within the city of Maplewood.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lee. As I've indicated, the council will score all the candidates, and we will submit our score sheets by Friday, and the new commissioners will be announced next week. Thank you very much for your participation. You are our last interview, at least during this time. We're going to interview, I believe it's 5 more candidates during our council meeting. Council members, this was the final agenda item for our City Council Manager Workshop. And so with that, I am going to adjourn our workshop. And Mr. Folds, do you want to remind everyone what we need to do? Because we have our next meeting, which is the EDA